Hello. Welcome. Welcome back, everybody. Ah, it is our final day together in this retreat space. Okay, and I want to remind everyone right up top that this coming Saturday, March 23rd, the Sacred Circle is open to everyone. So if you're catching the replay and you're not already registered, through the link for the retreat, go ahead and do that. And you can still have access to the Sacred Circle this weekend. So that's going to be a space to try that out and see what you think. If it's big enough, we might even play around with some breakout rooms so that we can really have that community feel of the small group conversation. So that'll be this Saturday. And normally it's every single Saturday, but to continue coming, you do got to be a member or buy a day pass. So all of that will be linked for you in the description of the replay. It'll be on the recap. And without further ado, we are diving in for one more day of magic. I have so enjoyed the chat, getting to read what's all going on in there, getting to see the messages coming to me from behind the scenes of people's experiences of the potent grounding and openings that are happening for people. I would love to hear right out of the gate. What is a shift that you've noticed? What is potentially new territory that you've stepped into as a result of being with this retreat, of tuning in either live in person or through the replays? Which day really stands out to you? Have they had a kind of a cumulative effect where they've stacked up and created an opening? I would love to hear in the chat, even just a word or two about what is going on for you by tuning into this retreat space. For me, I had maybe the most powerful dream of my life last night. I sent Leanne a 20-minute Marco Polo to recap the power of it because holy shit, I woke up at 2 a.m. and sat up in bed for 20 minutes and just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote all of the beautiful things from the dream. And talk about openings, talk about, doing the work of tuning our vibration, like we were starting to talk about yesterday, of manifestation is simply a matter of what radio station do you have your dial set to. So if you want to hear different music, we change the dial. And what does that mean? We change our energy inside of us. And it has been super powerful to tune in day by day by day, these last 4 days, and now today, the fifth day, especially the meditations. I going into those meditations and guiding you all through it, it is such a blissful experience to be able to tune into that space. And so to see last night this dream of powerful new beginnings happening literally on the equinox, right? Today is day one of our astrological new year. It feels like just so right on time. And I felt even, 6 weeks ago, as this retreat was being born into existence, just on a spreadsheet of like little notes and ideas of all the fun things that I wanted to share with you guys, I could feel the radical transformation and shifts that were possible in this space. And my spiritual support told me over and over, you don't really even need to understand what that's about. Like, you don't need to plan it. You don't need to try real hard to make it happen. You basically can't mess it up. There's nothing you could do to stop it because these people are freaking ready. And turns out I'm one of these people. And I'm so excited. I've received so much from getting to be with you. I hope you have received just as much or even any little bits of new territory from tuning into these days. If it feels good to put that in the chat, I would love to see it. If it feels nice to send me an email and tell me about it, like in private, I'm happy to see that too. Yes, it is such a beautiful way to tune in to this changing of seasons, right? This changing of seasons for the collective and possibly this changing of seasons in our life, right? This step forward into a new chapter, into a new way of being. And that is very much in line with the song that we are going to listen to this morning. I invite you to dance to it in whatever way feels good to you. If that means get up out of your seat to where your legs can be part of the party, if that means turning off your camera so you can really, really get into it, whatever works for you, I want you to receive the energy of this song and just soak it up because it is one of my favorites. It's another that I've listened to over and over and over, and I think you'll see why. It's called Where It All Begins by Hunter Hayes.
Well, I didn't know me like I know me now. Sometimes you gotta get lost so you can get found. I've been scared of the dark and I've been scared of the light. But if you never get knocked down, you never learn how to fight. That's right. Oh,
imagine all of the dreams you were too scared to chase. You spend every last tomorrow looking back on yesterday.
I've been where you are so many times before. These are moments when you find what you've been living for. This is where you fall. This is when you get up. This is where it all begins. This is where it hurts. This is when you learn that. This is where it all begins. Where it all begins. Yeah. My mama used to say when I was just a child, life's little ups and downs make it all worth a while. Oh, don't worry about nobody, 'cause nobody's keeping score. Yeah, your hardest days are a part of something so much more. This is where you fall. This is when you get up. This is where it all begins. This is where it hurts. This is when you learn that. This is where it all begins. Where it all begins. Starting over is a beautiful thing. You find out who you are through the pain. This is where you fall. This is when you get up. It's where it all begins. Where it all begins. Where it hurts. This is when you learn that. This is where it all begins. Where it all begins.
Gotta give it time.
That's when you learn. It's where it all begins. Where it all begins.
What lyric, what line of that song really sticks out to you? Again, I would love to hear in the chat. I would say for me, like every time I hear it, your hardest days are a part of something so much more. Gets me friggin' right in the heart every single time. Oh, never heard that before, and I love it so hard. This is where it all begins, right? This is a potent time of new beginnings and being able to shed the parts of us that are no longer in service to our leading edge, right? And that's a choice that technically every new sunrise offers to us, at a potent change of seasons, it's even more of an opening of a portal, right? Like we've been talking about, of like collapsing down time and having an epic shift from one lived experience into something that feels very different to you. So, this is where it hurts. I never heard this song before. Like you think about, we talked a little bit yesterday about the seed. And when we declare what we want, it's like planting the seed in the ground. And if you leave that seed there long enough, it will germinate. And that is a fancy word for break open, break apart. The shell of it has to bust itself open for the life to come out and come up and reach its way up into the light. And so when we think about the painful things that we've lived through, that we have survived, that have been part of our past, every bit of it feels like that. It feels like the shell of the seed trying to get busted open. And sometimes that comes through having our hearts broken. It has, so much pain in it for us. We fall down, we smack our face on the wall, like all kinds of different experiences that will alert us to who we really are, to why we were born. This is what you've been living for. That's another of my favorite lines from the song, of like, again, every bit of everything that you have went through has brought you to this moment, right? None of it was by accident. None of it was in vain. No ounce of your suffering was pointless, right? And even in these last couple years, I wonder how much you all can relate to this, because I'm guessing a lot. Um, these last couple years have been some of my most emotional years, where I feel like I have, the shell of my seed has been breaking open and breaking open, like over and over and over again. But when we think about, manifestation and welcoming new things into our life, they can't come in unless there is space for them to come in. And so these last couple years of all of the release work that has been happening, even subconsciously without us really trying, right? That's not something we have to plan and schedule into our day. It'll find us, it'll knock on your door when it's time for it to happen. And every bit of that release is clearing the space so that these new things can now come in. This is where it all begins, right? So being ready for that, being ready to receive the new thing, that is very much what we're going to continue working on today, right? Yesterday, we did some really potent work around meeting our spirit team, our spirit guides, our ancestors. Our inner child is part of that. Our future self is part of that. Every soul that is rooting for us, that is cheering for us in the quantum realm, in this realm of infinite possibilities, right? This is a day of the year where we are stepping into a place of infinite possibilities. There's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's only what you want. There's only what the soft animal of your body loves. And we don't even necessarily always understand, why do I want that thing? Right? Like that seems so small, or that seems off the mark, or that has nothing to do with this other thing that I thought I wanted. Letting ourselves admit to ourselves what it is that we really want is I think, the hardest part of the process. Because for me personally, and I'll tell just another little story before we get into the guided meditation, I had a very powerful experience in the astral realm at the end of 2022 that brought it to my attention that I wanted something. And in my sleep, in the astral, I knew for a fact that my body, every layer of my beingness wants this thing. And then I would wake back up into the 3D, wake back up into my ego, into my personality, into my right here, right now life. And I'm looking around like, no, I can't have that. I don't want that. It's not in my plan. It doesn't go with my life right here, right now. It doesn't match. No, thank you. I see, but no, thank you. And the astral experience repeated itself about 6 or 7 times until I finally, in the 3D, was like, okay, yes, I do want that. And admitting that to myself took like a month. And even after I admitted that I wanted it, it still was like 6 or 7 months of working it out in my nervous system of like, am I really gonna do that? Because wanting this thing means a very different life than what I'm living right now. It means very big changes. And again, that's a nervous system process of like, will you let yourself open up and receive this thing? Is it safe to receive this thing? I mean, when we plant the seed, all the stories come up, all the past comes up, all of our past hurts, all of our past wounding that we haven't dealt with yet comes up. And that was what basically this last year and a half has been about, is releasing everything that's in the way of me having that. And the process to even admit to myself, this is what I want, took close to a year. So if you are anybody who is in that space of, I don't really know what I want, even just having the intention of, I'm willing for my higher self to show it to me. I'm willing to see it in my dream space. And that doesn't mean you got to wake up tomorrow and detonate your whole life so that it'll fit in there. But are you willing to see what it really is? Because I think it goes back to that idea of, when we live more in fear, we can stay in this place of like, give me the thing, and then I'll leave my current life and then I'll move over here to the thing that I really want. And what I've found in this last year and a half was like, very much I had to acknowledge that this is what I want and start proactively opening up the space, start proactively letting go of the limiting beliefs that were in the way. There were mental stories that were in the way. There were physical emotions, like we were talking about yesterday, with like, what are the thoughts that come up? What are the feelings underneath that? And what is the visceral, like, panic and terror that lives underneath the feelings? So the process of getting up to speed with what we want is no small thing. And it is not, in my experience at least, it's not an overnight process. And if you're somebody who is like, I still don't really see it. I still, when you say, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't really know, or I have a very small view. I have a very limited view of what it is. That's okay. Because even just granting yourself, like giving your higher self permission to show you, and sleep is where our resistance is the lowest. So chances are you're going to have a dream about it that feels better than anything in your life, anything that you've ever lived before. This was my experience, was like, I mean, how can you say no to that? And I did. I did. I said no multiple times. So they just kept showing me. They're like, are you serious? This is badass. This is amazing. Of course you want this thing. And I'm like, keep it. Keep it. I don't want it. It's too scary to think about all the changes that would have to take place for me to welcome that into my life. So I offer that because it's what's at the front of my brain, and that's what this whole entire retreat has been. So hopefully there was a nugget of something in there for you. And today we are going back into our guided meditation, back into this quantum field of limitless possibilities, to see if our higher self will show us even one little glimpse, one more glimpse, maybe a slightly bigger picture of what it is that we want. What do we want our life to be? So I'm going to turn on my background music, get super comfy, close your eyes. Start with just big, deep breath, nothing fancy. And exhale. Another one, inhale. And exhale. Scan your body for tension, your jaw, your shoulders, lower back. Settle into this moment. Arrive at this doorway to the quantum realm of infinite possibility. You are safe here inside yourself, with yourself. Invite your higher self to guide the way for you through this next few minutes, to show you whatever it is that you are ready to see right now. It doesn't have to be everything, can't ever be everything. There's only the next little bit that you are ready for right now. We're going to begin by finding our way into the infinite of who we are. And that is so much easier than you might think. Through this next little bit, I'm going to be saying my name as I guide us through these phrases. Please go ahead and replace it with your own name. And as we do each phrase, just notice what comes up in you, what story comes up in your mind, what feelings come up in your body, or just noticing. We are our own sacred witness in this moment of whatever our higher self sees fit to show us. So repeat after me. I am Carly Whorton. Take a deep breath. And again, I am Carly Whorton. And one more time, I am Carly Whorton. Again, notice the story, the feelings, the size of your energy. There's no right or wrong, just noticing. And the next phrase, I am Carly. Again, I am Carly. One more time, I am Carly. Notice if the story was different. Notice if the feelings were different. If the size of your energy shifted at all. Take a big deep breath. And the last phrase, I am. I am. One more time. I am. Notice how your energy gets bigger as your identity gets smaller. As we step into the infinite expansiveness of your soul. the place where not only is everything possible, but everything that will happen has already happened. If your thoughts wander like they always will, see if you can gently bring them back to this infinite, expansive place of I am. The you were before they gave you a name. The you were before you came into your physical body. The part of you that is connected to every living thing through the interconnectedness of all. You are a masterpiece because you are a piece of the master. You're not a drop in the ocean. You're the entire ocean in a drop. Deep breath. And exhale. In this place, anything is possible. In this place, you have no story. You have no history. There's no past. There's no future. There's only this moment. And what would feel good to you in this moment? Every ingredient is available to you. Every sensory experience, every person who's ever been or will ever be. And what do you want to bring into this moment with you here in the quantum realm of infinite possibility? What would make you infinitely in love with this moment? Go ahead and bring it in now. And see if you can clarify any of the little details, the colors, the smells, visceral feelings in your body. See if you can make them even 1% more clear to you. The sounds, the touch. Where are you? What are you doing? What is your higher self showing you? Take a moment to really just soak in this moment filled with the things that you love. Take a deep breath and savor this feeling. Memorize this feeling. You are here. Allow the love of this moment to fill you up. opening in your body, down to every cell in your body. Let it be filled with the love of this moment. Now I want you to feel that love as a glow on your skin. It's covering every inch of your body. And expand that love to encircle everyone on this call. Send it out. Feel how infinite your love is. And now, feel yourself receiving the love from everybody on this call. You didn't have to earn it. You just get to receive it. It's a gift. You didn't have to be impressive. There was no right thing to say. You exist. And that's all. And now feel that love filling up every space within you, flowing on your skin and around this circle, and send it to someone you love, someone who you want to feel loved and this wholeness, this blessing of infinite love. Send it to them and trust their higher self will receive it. If you want to send it to another someone you love, by all means. Again, feel how infinite it is. You don't run out of love. There's just more. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Start to come back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Stretch out a little bit. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Feel free to make some notes. What was your higher self ready to show you today? What were the details that felt so good? The ingredients that felt so good to bring into this moment with you? What was there for you? What was already ready for you? feels good, drop a word or two in the chat about how that feels. Soft and safe, giddiness, all encompassing, all welcoming. This quantum field of infinite possibilities. Feels so good, it's hard to come back. But it's there for us to revisit anytime we choose. Nurtured and safe and soft. Easy. So easy. Take another moment and reflect back on anything else that you want to write down in your journal. Really soak it into your system. This space is here for you to be able to receive whatever your higher self was ready to show you today. And just know every day you go back, they may be ready to show you a little bit more. We never have to get it all done. It's not about knowing the answer. It's not about hitting the bullseye on the target. It's about connecting with that infinite capacity of I am. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off background music. Again, I feel like I could swim in that space for so long. Oh, connection over perfection. Yeah. Yeah. While we're in this send out place, oh, thank you, Janine. Your method of reminding is so freeing and gentle, Carly. Thank you. Thank you. You know, one of the reasons, I got a lot of them, but one of the reasons that I do what I do is because I have personally experienced that the exhilaration of getting to give our gifts away is the best sensation I've ever found. So being able to show up in this space and offer what I'm offering, like I'm going to bring myself to tears. Like there's nothing better. I've never found anything better. So connecting people with their gifts and hooking them into their empowerment so they feel safe to be seen and offer what it is that is uniquely inside of you to offer, so you can feel the exhilaration of giving your gifts. That's, if I'm being honest and selfish and transparent, that's what I want for you. I want you to feel the exhilaration of giving away your gifts. And that's, you know, that's a process of getting there, of becoming connected to what your gifts are and becoming safe inside yourself to be seen doing your thing, you know? And I love, 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 love this work that I get to do and the people I get to meet doing it. So thank you so much for reflecting that. And going back to what Lainey said about connection over perfection, let's take a second and back in the journal, right at the top of your page or on a new section, if I didn't have to be perfect, I would, ... If I didn't have to be perfect, I would. And take a second and what's one thing 2 things, 5 things that come to mind. If you were allowed to do it imperfectly, if it could be messy, you could stumble and fall while you did it. What would you do? Maybe it has something to do with what you saw in your meditation today. Maybe it's something completely unrelated that pops into your mind. Remember, we don't have to understand why the threads weave themselves together the way they do. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would what? Much like the exercise we did the other day, where if I was less afraid, I would. These kinds of prompts are great to revisit over time because as we welcome in our next level, there's always new levels, new devils. When we work past one block and we're able to receive our next new experience, that brings with it the next layer of healing. And so there's always more that we can soften into. And again, same as the exercise the other day, nobody says you have to do any of this. You could light this piece of paper on fire at the end of the session today, and it would be just as perfect. But letting ourselves witness within ourselves what is on the other side of this idea of needing to do it right, needing to have the right answer, needing to have all the information, setting ourselves free in true Aries fashion to follow the messy impulse of the moment. Whatever creative urge is waiting there for you to be actualized. Allow love, right? Yeah, that's a good one. I feel that one big time. So, yesterday, we started in on a process of how to have the life you want. And the first 3 steps were number 1, declare what you want. And we've talked some more about that today, about how much of a process it can be to even let yourself admit what it is that you really want. And number 2, change your story. So, starting to dive into the thoughts and the feelings and the visceral sensations that are alive in your body that are what keep us from moving into that next thing that we want. And number 3, release by feeling down into the roots of, everything that is separate, this illusion of separateness in the 3D. If we want something, that's because we believe we don't have it yet. But that's an illusion. When we step into the quantum, it's all available to us. It's all already done. It's all already part of who we are. And so, this illusion of separateness, what is that gap? It's the feelings we don't want to feel. And so, letting that release happen from the root is, once again, the pain is where we start. And letting that come up and out so that it no longer lives in our body allows our system to calibrate to a new place. And today, we carry on with the last 3 steps of this process. And step number 4 is to connect to who you must become to have what you want. So, as we think about the version of us that's living the life of everything that we already want from that place of quantum, infinite possibilities, every ingredient is already ours to have. Who is that person that's living that life? How are they different from who you are right now? When I think about the story, and I'll give you guys some time to reflect on that and maybe make some notes of like what are the characteristics and the attributes of that future self. that future wealthy you, that future loved you, that future healthy you, whatever it is that feels like it is on the other side of what you want. What are the characteristics of that person? And for me, as I thought into this myself with the experience I was sharing at the beginning of what I wanted and how long it took me to even admit what I wanted, one of the things that I figured out that is very different about that version of me is that she trusts. She has a lot of trust when it comes to everything that happens. She doesn't try to control. She doesn't try to make it any kind of way. And that is very different from who I was a year and a half ago as I realized what this thing is that I want. So it can be lots of different things. As I thought into mind some of the other things, um, she's fun, she's hilarious, she's highly opinionated, she's an excellent holder, she's whole, she's a great seer, she's very understanding, she's very loving. Her heart is open, even when the people around her don't possess that particular attribute. I mean, there can be infinite answers. Confident, playful, soft, lovingly communicative. Yes. Yes. Right? What is it? Who is that person? What do they got going on that lets them be living this thing that you want? Open is another one. Loving them even when they reject me or when I perceive the illusion that they're rejecting me, right? We're all together all the time in reality, in the 5D, in the interconnectedness of the all. Lighthearted, real, just speaking, not trying to find what I should say, right? Again, easy, just being, just flowing. Yeah, who are they? Who is that version of you? And as we think about how to leverage that, then it comes back to finding ourselves in a moment where either we're in our 20 seconds of courage, right? We're feeling really bold and expansive, and we check in with that future us and, like, what would they do? What would they do in this moment? Or even if we're in a moment of expansion, how would that version of me look at this situation? And check in with them, much like we did when we sat on the bench with our future self, asking for their advice. Authentic, joyful, kind, fierce, whole, and peaceful. Love it. Right? I see a thread of, like, I'd be having a lot more fun. You know? Me too. I'd be telling a lot more jokes. I'd be playing around with my sense of humor a lot more. She's not scared of offending people. She's not scared of being too big or too bright. Laughing more together. Yes, like open-hearted and trusting the people around us to take care of themselves. My future version doesn't go out of her way to be smaller so as to protect the people around me. She stands fully in her power as a permission slip, as a cosign to everyone around her, everyone that ever crosses her path to do the same. So that version of us from this realm of quantum infinite possibilities, she already exists, right? She's somewhere up ahead on our path. And from that space of simultaneous time and pulling the future down into the present moment, asking for her advice, asking, what ideas do you have about this? What do you think about this? Again, you don't have to take her advice. You don't have to just hand over the keys to the car and let her put her hands on the steering wheel. And meanwhile, you're hanging onto the door screaming bloody murder. Like, you don't have to go faster than you can go. But letting her advise you, letting her influence you or him, this is all inclusive. It works for everyone. Right? They say we become like the people we spend the most time around. Right? And often they say the 5 people, but really the people that you regularly expose yourself to. And so regularly exposing yourself, even 2 minutes a day, to check in with, like, that future version of me, how would she live this day? The version of me that is open to whatever, to gentle adventures, that really stuck with me, to open-hearted laughter, to having fun and playing. What would she do? And let her influence you. Spend time with her. And we become like the people we spend the most time around. Immerse yourself with the people who have the characteristics you want. Absolutely. Yes. So that is step number 4. Connect to who you must become to have what you want. And check in with that version of you. And again, let it lead you at every opportunity. And step number 5 is really where the rubber hits the road, because that's aligned action. So things change when things change. When we take different action steps, we get different results. The results we get are driven by the action we take. And I want to tell a little story here about how manifestation works and how this whole concept of, like, if you can change the dial on the radio, if you can change your energy just a little bit, the other version of reality is already right there. Like, how is that possible? Like, again, collapsing down time into, it does not have to be a linear process to where it took me 2 years to get this far. It's going to take another 2 years. So one day I was sitting on my bed doing a guided meditation, and it really landed in my center, and the courage bubbled up, and AKA my energy like shot through the roof. The frequency that I was operating at shot through the roof. The dial on my radio got tuned to a different station. And what changes at that point? The ideas you have access to. The ideas you have access to and the way you're willing to act on them. So the idea that came was, go into town, up on the square. I live in a town of like 3,400 people. Up on the square, there's a little shop. Go ask her if she'd be interested in selling your self-care book. I got my ass up off my bed, put on my jeans, got in my car, drove up there, had a Zoom starting in like 20 minutes. And I was like, that's okay. I don't even have one of the books with me. I'm just going to ask if that's something she'd be interested in. Does she work with local vendors? Like, is that even an open door? Instantly, she's like, yeah, I want to see it. So I go back a few hours later and I take her a copy and I put it in her hands and I say, so what do you think? And she's like, so what's the wholesale? I give her the price. She's like, what do you normally sell it for? I give her the price. She's like, so like 6 copies? So those 2 interactions combined took less than 2 minutes. And the whole reason, so like in less than 2 minutes, I'm living in a different reality, one where my book is available for sale in the town where I live. And that is the definition of, like, you change your energy and the new reality is already right there. The person willing to say yes is already right there, but are you willing to ask? Do you even have the idea of, like, I should ask? And are you willing to get in your car and go there? Are you willing to open the email and start typing? Like, that is the definition of how changing our energy changes our manifestation. It changes the music that's playing, because before that, I had a lot of stories going on in my brain about why I didn't want my book for sale at that store. I had had the idea before of like, she's cool. The owner of the business is super cool. I love talking to her every time I go in there. It's where I buy my blank journals. Like, I'm in there every couple months buying a few more journals. And I'd had the idea before, like, if I was going to sell my book somewhere, this would be the place to do it. And then instantly the onslaught of like, no, not in my hometown. I don't want to be that person. I don't want to open myself up to that. Like, what if people start talking behind my back? Like, what if blah, 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 blah. And that day, the guided meditation like raises my energy. And all of that seemed so irrelevant, like so not the point, because what was the point was like, if I put it there, people shopping in that store might walk up to it and be like, huh, the ultimate guide to self-care. I was just thinking yesterday how I really want to get serious about my self-care, and now here they are crossing paths with this book. And I was in there the other day and half of them are gone. People picked them up. People walked out of the store. People gave over their money willingly because they wanted that thing. And how did I manifest that? I raised my energy. I had the idea. I was willing to act on it. Like, that's the only thing that's ever different, is our own openness to what we want, our own readiness. So, manifestation, again, it's a word that can sound really complicated, but I assure you, it's this easy of like having the idea. And that is such an exciting piece of like, again, how this whole retreat came to be, because I genuinely believe in my core, every single one of us is one idea away from an entirely different reality. 1 20 seconds of courage away from an entirely different reality. In that moment, it felt like the glass box that I had been sitting in got shattered and I don't live in it anymore. I am a person that's willing to be seen in my hometown as this one who's crazy about self care. She's the self care lady. I'm like, great, sounds good. There are worse things they could say about me. She's really emotional. That's pretty true. Like, she's very sensitive. Yes, that's a fact. So, like, owning that this is who I am, and for these people to know about it, cool. And so that is the story that wanted to be shared there as far as aligned action and bridging that gap of, when we think about what is the thing that we want, there's the full blown version of it. There's like the us that's 10 feet tall and living every ounce of what it is that we can imagine. And then there's us where we are right now. And there's like the next little bit and the next little bit and the next little bit and the next little bit. So, one example of that is looking backwards at like, how was I even ready to walk into the store that day and ask her if she wanted to sell it? Well, before that, there was the hurdle, the 20 seconds of courage of picking up the phone and asking the local printer in town, I have this ebook. Would you guys be willing or able to like print it into a spiral bound book? And so that was like 6 weeks in the works of like going back and forth on the proofs and making the little edits to the printed version. And so then I had a printed book to even be able to ask her, do you want to sell the printed book? You back up a little further and you find the moment, the 20 seconds of courage when I opened the blank Canva project of like, this is a blank white page staring back at me, and I want it to be a guide to self-care. Like, there's the little bit more and the little bit more and the little bit more. So as you think about what you saw in your meditation, what you wrote on the list of, if I didn't have to be perfect, I would. What are some of those steps? What are some of those like little bit more, little bit more, little bit more that would feel delicious, right? Not terrifying because we're forcing ourselves to be something that we're not, but delicious to, in the privacy of my own home, open up a blank page and start designing something, open up an email and start seeing what it would sound like if I write something. Like, what would that little bit more look like for you in this right now moment? Give you guys just a second to reflect on that. Creating for the joy of creating, even if I never use what I create. The sandcastle. Mm. Actually, that reminds me, Leanne, make a note. I want to send them Embrace the Shake, the TED Talk. That is such a good one for that, of creating just for the joy of getting to be in the process. Like it's not about the finished result. And I think when we make it about the finished result, that really jams up the gears of the process, right? Like when I opened the blank page on day one of creating the self care book, I wasn't thinking about walking into the Merc and handing her a printed copy. I wasn't even thinking about asking the local printer to print it for me. I was like, yeah, an ebook. It can be as short as it wants to be. It'll be whatever, like the fun of I have this. I love self care. I love getting to talk about it. I love how pretty it is. I love the gold flower I put on the cover. I love. And a few days later, it was like, wow, that really came together. And then I showed it to Lainey, who was like very much my muse in that process. And she was like, yeah, helpful. So the part of just creating because it's fun, like taking these action steps because they're delicious, not because we're trying to make some fancy outcome happen, but because this is delightful, right? Inner child style. This is fun. Ooh, creating business cards, right? Those kinds of ideas of like, I want to make this thing. And then the next thought comes, well, why is that practical? Why do you need that? And it's like, stop that stuff as soon as possible, as much as you can, because again, we don't need to understand the creative urge to understand like that source, the infinite quantum, all possibilities are already happened. There's a reason for that creative urge. And it might just be, getting halfway there on this thing. Well, that's a good point. I think about last year, like a little over a year ago, I wrote my first ebook and I didn't do anything with it for over a year. But I had in the back of my mind, I can write an ebook. It's not that hard. It doesn't take that long. You just kind of write whatever wants to be written and then it's done. Like as opposed to a book, or at least what I think of when I think of a book is like 200 pages and chapters and fancy points and whatever. And it's like the ebook was just like, I want to say this and then I want to say this. And oh, this would be a good section to include. And it just kind of built itself. And so that first ebook, The Art of Truth Telling, it was like my green light on this is even possible. So it wasn't about like, oh, now I need to feel guilty because it was saved on my computer for 12 months and I didn't do anything with it. Like no, it was just like me getting to see that like, hey, you're capable of this. And that's worth a lot. Mm. So aligned action, bridging the gap, little bit more, delicious steps. What are those? And step number 6 is support, right? Like we talked yesterday about kind of the daily battle between the expansive leading edge of what we want our life to be and the safety of our comfort zone. And so the support to keep going, to keep leaning into the expansion that you want, to surround yourself by other people who are doing the similar work of facing those fears and working through the layers of the blocks and the feelings that are standing in the way of us being who we want to be, right? Consciously creating that community around yourself. That is maybe the most important step of reminding yourself often that you are not alone. You're not the one person on the planet who can't bring their vision to life. Like it's a hard thing to do, to stay in that elevated energy and consistently move forward into the life that you consciously want to build for yourself. That is a process. It's a revolutionary act to grow into your authentic self. And so surrounding yourself with other people who are doing the same, who are also deep, sensitive souls, who are scared, but doing those little baby steps, That's huge to share that energy back and forth. And so, again, this container was born in very much that space of like, we're all ready for whatever it is that's ready to come to us next on our path. And as we plant those seeds, a lot comes up. And as we've been together each of the 5 days, I think it's been pretty obvious that like the things that come up are so relatable. Like whether it's been in the chat or even the messages I've gotten behind the scenes, like you all are relating to each other so much. And just even the little bit of a reminder that like you're not alone. It may feel like you are sometimes, but you are really not. And that can feel like a little bit of energy, a little bit of, this being a safe place to maybe the aligned action is to raise your hand at the next sacred circle or to volunteer for this and this, to find those safe spaces and put yourself out there one little bit more than you normally would. Support. So the 6 steps. Number 1, declare what you want. Figuring out what we want can be kind of a challenge, but kudos to anybody who can even answer that question. Number 2, change your story. Number 3, release. Number 4, connected. Connect to who you must become to have what you want. Number 5, take the aligned action to get yourself there little by little. And number 6, support. Surround yourself with every ounce of support you need. Whether that's individual coaching, community spaces, even YouTube channels that resonate, music that resonates, support can come in many forms. So I also invite you to reflect on, what is a little bit more support that you could tap into to hold you in this new version that you're becoming, this sensitive beginning that you're fostering and nurturing within yourself. One such space is the Open Sacred Circle that's happening on Saturday. Everyone is free to attend that. I would love to have you there. If you'd like to join, that's $45 a month. The day pass is $15 a day. So by all means, pop in at the ones that you need most. This coming Saturday, we are going to be starting off with the direction of the Libra full moon lunar eclipse. So powerful things coming with this full moon lunar eclipse and the new moon solar eclipse that's following up on a couple weeks later. So the rest of the spring is huge. Okay, we've got a Mercury retrograde happening in Aries that's really going to stir up the dust on who we are, what we need, what's authentic, and what's in the way of that. So some powerful, powerful, potent energy coming through there. And then we also have, towards the end of April, on April 20th, we have Jupiter conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So powerful new beginnings in the earth realm. Big expansions, big shakeups, big finding our worth and our value and our security inside of ourselves. So again, as you go through these next couple months, if Sacred Circle would be a space that feels good, like it could hold you, we'll be there every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Time. I also have the one-on-one sessions available for those of you who registered for the retreat. They are going to have bonus time tacked on to any item that you would book. You can you can purchase it through the end of April, and the booking will go out even a couple months further than that. So you could be scheduling sessions that you might have later. I think that's it on what I wanted to say about that. So we will give away the last set of prizes, the winners of the last day's prizes. So the main prize for today are 2 free one-on-one sessions. So those will be 45-minute sessions, and there's a space on the booking site where it says this is a retreat given one-on-one, so it won't charge you when you go to check out and schedule that. And the winner of that is Lainey. Lady! I am so happy. She was just telling me the other day how she wants to learn more about her houses on her natal chart. And girl, we can do that. We can unpack whatever we want in those sessions. So I'll send you the link so you can put those on the calendar. And the winner, we also have ebook of choice. So I have 4 ebooks on my Etsy shop. And one of the ideas that I had in my really powerful dream last night was somebody asked me, "Do you ever run a 2-for-1 sale on your ebooks?" And I was like, "No, but I'm going to think about that." And that has stuck with me. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to turn that on here pretty soon of like a 2-for-1 and get 2 ebooks for the price of one kind of deal. But the winner of the ebook of choice is Wanda. So, Wanda, congratulations. I am going to send you a link to look at the Etsy shop and be able to pick out whichever ebook you want. Congratulations on that. Oh, you guys, that brings us to the end of the retreat container. This will not be my last. I am already bubbling with ideas for the next free retreat. I am super excited to see most of you, many of you at the Open Sacred Circle this coming Saturday. Those of you who won free access to the Sacred Circles will include you in that invite list ongoing as long as your free pass lasts. Any of you that want to sign up, those links will be on the recap. Also, for those watching the replay, if you haven't registered yet for the retreat space, you can still do that and gain access to the free Sacred Circle that's happening on Saturday. I want us to have plenty of togetherness, plenty of you're not alone. And like I said, if it's a big enough group, we might even experiment with some breakout rooms and some small group conversations. So I think that would be really fun. So thank you so much. It feels sad to say goodbye. And actually, that reminds me, we don't have to yet because Leanne was going to share one little parting message that she sent me yesterday. And I was like, you have to say this to close the container. That's brilliant and potent and perfect for exactly where we're leaving off. So, Leanne, I'll let you take it away.
Okay. So when I was talking to Carly after yesterday's session, she said a word that like really struck with me. Now, I don't know if any of you have used the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, but Carly used the word poise, which is this card right here. And I immediately thought of it when she said the word. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and like read that to her. And so this is the message that came with the card. So the essential meanings of the poised card is to be ready, bringing something to light, being at your best, and confidence. The message is that you can be assured that you are ready for anything right now. You know what you need to do. You know your skills are sharp. You've come to this place armed with wisdom and knowledge, and you sense a new phase of your life about to begin. People respond to your confidence and trust you. This is an auspicious time to begin new things. When you're confident and happy in your own skin, you're ready for deeper, more intimate relationships. You have nothing to prove right now. You are completely yourself and can handle anything. Love, friendships, and harmonious new connections are all present now or are coming in. You're ready to give and receive from the heart. This is a beautiful place to be. You have every reason to feel confident. Everything you need to make your success concrete is now at your disposal. You can take action knowing you are ready to step into your power, into your light, and into your service to the world. The direction you're moving in is your destiny. Your soul is smiling with joy as you align with this truth.
Type a 1 in the chat if that is exactly what you needed to hear to close this container. I mean, could there have been a more perfect message to end on? Oh, yes. Thank you, Leanne, for being present to receive that idea yesterday, that like that word reminded you of that card and you acted on it to tell me about it. And just thank you for that. Also, big thank you to Leanne for being the recorder of these sessions. She's helped me out on the back end with like making this a seamless experience so I could really focus on being present with you guys. And it definitely wouldn't have been nearly as smooth without a second helping me with this. So thank you so much for that beautiful support she has offered. And thank you, everyone. your energy in this space. I mean, we co-created this together, and I am blessed by every single face staring back at me. Those of you not on video, I still see your face staring back at me. And those of you on the replay, right? Contributing your energy in the comments on YouTube, watching this later, watching this forever for the rest of time. Thank you so much for doing this work and pouring into yourselves, choosing to receive, choosing to carve out the time to grow into your most authentic self. It's a beautiful gift you give to you, and it's a beautiful permission slip that you are automatically writing for every person you ever come into contact with. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see some of you on Saturday. It has been my significant pleasure to be with you, and have a magical rest of your day.